Welcome to our economics lesson today. In today's lesson, we are going to be focusing on regional development. And under regional development, we're going to look at specifically the concepts related to this topic, South Africa's endeavors in promoting regional development, as well as the incentives to encourage industrial development. So the objectives by the end of this lesson, learners should be able to briefly describe key concepts relating to regional development, discuss in detail South Africa's endeavors to regional development, and discuss briefly incentives used by the SA government to improve industrial development. The key concepts, very crucial to understand and study these concepts as they enhance your understanding of the topic regional development. Some of these concepts, we're going to discuss them as we progress and proceed with our lesson. Pre-knowledge, what you should know and be able to do. From your grade 10 and 11, you should have an understanding of economic growth and development as well as globalization. And from grade 12, you should understand economic growth and development as well as protectionism and free trade. Common content errors and misconceptions. Most candidates perform poorly in this topic as they confuse various strategies, endeavors to economic growth and development. Learners also lack content on the various incentives used to encourage industrial development. Exam writing competencies, you need to have these skills as they are relevant in your preparation and handling of the exam. You need to have your reading skills, be an active learner, critical thinking, as well as time management skills so that you finish the exam in time. You don't run short of time. Let us go for a short ad break and we'll be right back. Welcome back from the ad break. As we proceed with our lesson on regional development, we're going for now to look at the concepts relating to regional development. The content problem in this area is the inability to link a concept or a term with a description. The inability to briefly describe the term in a full sentence. And our key theory aspects include outlining key concepts relating to regional development. Still under our key theory aspects, our assessment of understanding of concepts are dealt with in section A, where we have multiple choice questions, matching items, as well as giving one correct term from provided descriptions. So what you have to do, you create your vocabulary lists, create visuals of the terminology, study your concepts and descriptions, then you sum up by testing your concept knowledge. And to do that, you have to work through past NSC question papers by answering section A questions. Then after that, you now have to mark your answers using the marking guidelines to see how well you have been doing in answering the questions related to the concepts. A typical example of a multiple choice question under this topic says a tract of land that forms a passageway allowing access. So it's a tract of land that forms a passageway allowing access from one area to another. That is, our answer will be It's a corridor. So this is testing your understanding of the concept, because there are different types of industrial development endeavors here or initiatives, but they want to find out, do you understand which one relates to question 1.1.1. Then your matching of columns, you read items in column A, that is industrial development zones, 1.2.2 industrial development strategy, and 1.2.3 special economic zones. Then in column B, we are given the descriptions, not in order. Then you now need to match a description to a correct term. So for this 1.2.1, our answer will be C, meaning to say industrial development zones, those are purpose-built industrial estates that are physically enclosed and linked to international airports. 1.2.2, our answer is A. What's that? An industrial development strategy, it's a plan or a set of policies aimed at promoting economic growth and development of industries within a country or region. And lastly, 1.2.3, that is a regional strategic development. It's B, which is geographical areas that have a wider industrial development objective and which can be located anywhere to promote cluster development. So you just have to write the letter there next to the question number. Now 1.3 questions, they require you to give a correct term from the given descriptions. Once again, abbreviations, acronyms, and examples will not be marked as correct answers, so they are not accepted. So you read your descriptions. 1.3.1, institution that promotes trade, support industrial development, and foster fair competition in the marketplace. 1.3.2, a cash incentive that aims to provide investment in the training of the South African labor force. 1.3.3, efforts by government to move manufacturing and other businesses from metropolitan areas to rural areas. 1.3.4, offers cash grants for foreign investors who invest in new manufacturing businesses in South Africa. So these are the descriptions. Let us now give the correct terms that match these descriptions. A cash incentive that aims to provide investment in training, it is called a skills support program. Then 1.3.3, efforts by government to move manufacturing and other businesses from metropolitan areas to rural areas, it is called decentralization. And lastly, it offers cash grants to foreign investors who invest in new manufacturing businesses in South Africa. That is a foreign investment incentives. Now, moving on to South Africa's endeavors in regional development. Here, the problem is that learners confuse various endeavors in regional development. Let us look at this question as an example, which says, discuss in detail South Africa's initiatives or endeavors in regional development. That is 26 marks, meaning that it's a possible essay under this topic of regional development. So you need to have your introduction. Your introduction is just a description of the key concept here, that is a description of regional development. Then you now go to your main part. You have to write your subheadings. Now, your subheadings are those initiatives. So under each and every initiative, you now have to explain. So the first one will be the strategic development initiatives. Some call them spatial development initiatives, SDIs. What is it? It's a policy to promote sustainable industrial development in areas that have got high poverty and high levels of unemployment. Now, they provide a link between important economic hubs and regions in a country. Remember, we are doing regional development. So the idea here is to try and attract investment in areas that are poor, in areas that are less developed. And those areas, how do we identify them? They are characterized by high levels of unemployment as well as high levels of poverty. And the main objective is to stimulate economic growth and development. Examples of those SDIs in South Africa include the West Coast, the Gauteng SEZ, and also the areas in which they specialize. Then the financial incentives, in other words, what would attract now businesses to relocate to those areas? It is the incentives that they are provided. They include the duty-free incentives, the support operations to small enterprises, tax-free grants that will be given for skills development, the cash grants that can also be given to expand physical infrastructure, as well as the foreign investment grants that are given to foreign investors who might want also to come and invest in those poor areas in South Africa. So those will act as incentives that would attract businesses to locate in those poorer areas. Then we also have public-private partnerships. This encompasses the relationship between the government and the private sector. So it will involve the central government, local authorities, the civil society, special interest groups, NGOs, and the private sector itself. And in this partnership, the private sector can provide capital in the form of factories, the raw materials, which will create jobs, and the government can provide the capital in the form of infrastructure, roads, and water. So you can see that it's a joint effort between the private sector and the private sector, which actually helps to develop the poor area. Then we also have the corridors. This is a tract of land that forms a passageway which allows access from one area to another. And corridors are developed as part of regional development. In other words, they are part of the SDI. For example, we have the Maputo Development Corridor that links South Africa and Mozambique. Okay, let us take another ad break. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back from the ad break. We're still going on with our regional development, and in this section, we are going to look at the incentives to encourage industrial development. And the content problem here is learners are unable to explain the incentives to encourage industrial development. So we are given an example of a question here that assesses us on incentives. It says, briefly discuss the incentives used by the South African government to improve industrial development for 8 marks. So they include 1, small business support program. So as the name suggests, small business. This incentive aims to bring support for small businesses with assets of 100 million rands or less. So for the business to qualify as a small business, it should be worth 100 million or less. And the incentive is a tax-free cash grant for investment in industries. So those grants are given for new businesses as well as for businesses, and these are small businesses that want to expand. It is given for a period of 3 years, and after that, it is believed that the business could be self-sustaining. We also have the SEEDA Technology Program, the STP. It's a national strategy, and it involves consolidation and rationalization of small enterprise support interventions. It's given across the different government departments and agencies, and the objective is to bring about improved service delivery to entrepreneurs and also to small enterprises. We also have the skills support program. So as the name suggests, skills support program. So that's how easily you could be able to tell what the grant or the incentive is given for. The name will tell you. It says it's a cash incentive that is given for greater investment in skills training and new advanced skills to the labor force. So the idea is about skills development. And it covers a maximum of 50% of a company's trading costs. We are also having the critical infrastructure facilities. So the name here is critical what? Infrastructure. So obviously it is a cost-sharing grant for projects to improve infrastructure. As the name suggests, critical infrastructure. So it is given by the government to such businesses that undertake projects that improve infrastructure in the country. And it covers development cost between 10% and 30% of the total development cost. It is available on completion of the project to the public as well as the private sector. So when is it deemed critical? So it is deemed critical if the investment had not taken place or would not work optimally without the what? Without the infrastructure itself. Another incentive is the customs-free incentives or the duty-free incentives. This one is aimed at export-oriented manufacturing businesses that operate in the IDZ. So businesses will be attracted to go and locate in the IDZ because they realize that we can export and import goods and raw materials free of duty. So all those tariffs, all those import and export duties are removed if a business locates themselves in an IDZ. So duty-free is on imports of intermediate goods that are used in the IDZ to produce final goods. So you import raw materials free of duty. If it is an IDZ, then those raw materials, the company or the business will use them to produce a final product in the IDZ. But that final product will have to be exported. Then we also have the foreign investment incentive or the foreign investment grant. As the name suggests, foreign investment. It is a cash incentive that assists foreign investors in new manufacturing. So it's not given to any investor, but those who want to invest in manufacturing businesses in South Africa. It covers the cost, that is 15%, to a maximum of 3 million of relocating new machinery and equipment from abroad. Remember, these are investors from other countries. They need to relocate to South Africa to bring about development in our country. So they have their equipment, they've got their machinery. So government is giving them an incentive to come to South Africa by giving them money so that they can transport their equipment, their machinery, and establish it here in South Africa. The goal is to increase foreign investment in the country and technologies. We also have services to business processes. There is a base incentive as a tax exemption grant. It is paid over 3 years for each offshore job created and maintained. The aim is to attract investment and create employment in South Africa through offshore activities. It's given as a graduated bonus incentive. So in other words, 20% or more, it's given if there's a creation of more than 4,000 jobs, but less than 8,000 jobs. But for a company that creates more than 30%, more than 8,000 jobs, that company can receive up to 30% of this grant. So that's where the graduation comes in. So it depends on how many jobs do you create. The more jobs the company creates, the more funds they receive in form of grants from the government. We also have what they call the Strategic Investment Program, the SIP. It's also a cash incentive for businesses in information technology. So this concludes our lesson on regional development. Goodbye. Welcome to our economics lesson today. In this lesson, I'm going to take you through practice questions, exam-related questions, based on the topic regional development. Our first question in this topic says, study the information and answer the questions that follow. So we need to study this map that we are given here. Then we are going to be asked questions based on this. So our first question says, identify the industrial development zone that manufactures vehicles. So you need to look at the IDZ and what it specializes in. So we have got the Hwega here. If you check, it specializes in the metals and automotive industries. East London also is specializing in automotive industries. So those are going to be our two industrial development zones that specialize in the manufacturing of cars. So our answers are Hwega IDZ and East London IDZ. The next question, name the key economic activity that Saldanha IDZ specializes in. If you check here, the Saldanha IDZ, they put a question mark. You need to know each and every IDZ and what economic activity they specialize in. For example, Saldanha specializes in steel. Briefly describe the term corridor. It is a tract of land that forms a passageway, allowing access from one area to another and providing advantages for the mining, agriculture, and manufacturing industries. Number 4, why is it necessary for the government to provide incentives to businesses? Because it encourages businesses to produce more output of a specific product. Number 2, to attract more investments to a particular economic activity or product. To attract businesses to neglected areas. Financial incentives are provided to motivate producers by reducing the cost of production. And lastly, to diversify trade. So any of these would be a reason why the government should provide incentives to businesses. Number 5, how can South Africa benefit from the introduction of special economic zones? How does the country benefit? In other words, the question is asking about the benefits to the economy of special economic zones. South Africa can benefit from the introduction of SEZs in the following ways. Economic growth is stimulated by attracting more investments in key growth areas. Number 2, broader industrial areas that are not linked to airports or ports are created. Number 3, job opportunities will be created, especially in manufacturing sector, which will promote further skills development. And lastly, production of a wide variety of goods and services, which will diversify the economy. The next question, study the extract and answer the questions that follow. So study the extract. Heading, Hwega Industrial Development Zone. Then you need to read through the extract. As South Africa loses jobs, 4 new companies are investing a combined 49 million at the Hwega Industrial Development Zone, IDZ, in Nelson Mandela Bay. This creates employment for at least 100 people. The investment comes amid the devastating state of an already depressed economy, with South Africa losing more jobs than it creates. The unemployment rate is sitting at a staggering 40.4%. Now, our first question says, identify the phrase in the extract that refers to an increase in unemployment in South Africa. The phrase is losing more jobs than it creates, or a depressed economy, or loses jobs. This one you can actually take it from the extract where it says with South Africa losing more jobs than it creates. Name any one corridor in South Africa. This just tests for your understanding of the different corridors in South Africa as part of industrial development or regional development. So we have the Maputo Development Corridor, the Coast to Coast Corridor, among others. Number 3, briefly describe the term regional development. It refers to policies aimed at increasing the economic livelihood of specific areas or geographical regions that are underdeveloped. So regional development focuses on bringing development to regions that are under or that are less developed in the country. Why do special economic zones have a wider industrial development objective than IDZ is? So it's a comparison of the special economic zone and the IDZ. So this calls for your understanding of both the initiatives, both the SEZ as well as the IDZ. Then you compare. So it says here, special economic zones can be located anywhere in the country, which improves economic activity in many areas that are not close to international airports. Remember, IDZs are confined, are limited to, in terms of geographical location, to major international transport nodes, national transport nodes. But the special economic zones can be located anywhere across the country. So that actually improves economic development in a wider range of areas within the country. And number 2, goods produced in special economic zones can be sold to domestic and export markets, allowing businesses to generate extra income. So special economic zones are more of an advantage because whatever is produced in the SEZ, yes, part of it can be exported, but some can be sold domestically. Unlike the IDZ, everything that is produced in the IDZ should be sold to international markets. In other words, it has to be exported, thereby neglecting domestic consumption. Number 5, how can industrial development influence the international competitiveness? So the influence of industrial development on what? The international competitiveness of a country. Industrial development increases the variety of goods and services, that is diversification, that can be exported to other countries. Some industrial development measures, such as subsidies and incentives, may allow local businesses to export goods at lower prices that may be more competitive. The use of new technologies in manufacturing may improve the quality of South African exports. Industrial development through export promotion may result in favorable exchange rates. World-class infrastructure to promote industrial development may also help to attract more foreign direct investments. And lastly, research and development may encourage local businesses to introduce new products that are more competitive than the existing ones. All right, let us take a short ad break. We'll be right back. Welcome back from our ad break. We are still proceeding with our practice of exam questions on the topic regional development. The question that we have here says, study the information and answer the questions that follow. So this is what we're given. It's about special economic zones. Then what they offers duty-free incentives, foreign investment grant, and skill support program, as well as tax incentives. Here it says the SEZ program attracted 234 investors, creating 15,000 direct jobs. Now, the questions. Identify the financial incentive that allows for the importing of intermediate goods without paying any tariffs. So the question says identify, meaning to say we can actually find the answer from this information. Then it talks about without paying any tariffs. So obviously that becomes what? Duty-free incentives. Right, number 2. Name any one special economic zone in South Africa. Once again, testing your understanding of the various special economic zones across the country. We have quite a lot. The Hwega in Eastern Cape, Richards Bay, East London, the Saldanha Bay, Dube Trade Port, the Maluti Apofung in Free State, OR Tambo IDZ, Musina Makhado, Atlantis, Ngomazi SEZ, as well as the Tshwane Automotive. Then we have another question which says, briefly describe the term special economic zone. This is a geographically demarcated area for specific economic activities, and it includes a broader range of industrial parks. Number 4, how is the government using corporate tax to attract investments into special economic zones? So, how does the government use corporate tax to attract investments into special economic zones? The government reduced the corporate tax from 27% to 15% for businesses that are established in the SEZs. So what it means is, what is going to attract a business to go and locate in a special economic zone is this tax exemption. Instead of paying a corporate tax of 27%, government says, if you locate your business in the special economic zone, we are going to reduce the tax percentage that you are going to pay from your profits. So that becomes an incentive to attract businesses into those areas that are underdeveloped. The tax relief makes it possible for new businesses to survive the first few years in production by reducing operational costs for them. So that is going to reduce operational costs if the tax is reduced as well. Number 5, explain the importance of public-private partnerships in spatial development initiatives. So talking about importance of the partnership between the public sector and the private sector. It allows for private sector businesses to take advantage of the economic potential of underdeveloped areas. The private businesses may provide investment capital while the government provides infrastructure such as roads, water, and electricity. Number 3, more factors of production will be employed as more investments will be attracted. So you can actually see that here there is a combination of job creation from both the private sector as well as the public sector. So more jobs will be created. Businesses benefit from profits and government benefits from taxes, levies, and decreased unemployment. So that's a benefit to the government because as more jobs are created with the aid or with the help of the private sector, it's an advantage to the government because it is their responsibility. Remember, it's one of their macroeconomic objectives to achieve full employment. So this partnership enables the government to move towards that objective. And lastly, it allows moving towards international competitiveness, regional cooperation, and a more diverse ownership base. Next question, study the extract and answer the questions that follow. The heading, Sustainable Livelihoods of Township SMMEs Towards Growth and Development. In the extract reads, in South Africa, small, medium, and micro enterprises, the SMMEs, have been recognized as the critical driving force to alleviate some economic challenges that the country faces. SMMEs in South Africa play a critical role in the country's economy and contribute between 40% and 41% of the country's GDP and up to 61% of the overall employment. In this regard, the Small Enterprise Development Agency, the SEDA, and the Small Enterprise Finance Agency plan on implementing programs to improve the livelihood of township SMMEs. Then our question says, identify the institution that promotes small businesses. Our response is the Small Enterprise Development Agency as well as the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. The word identify means we can actually get our answer from the extract. And we are given the SEDA here and also the SEFA from the extract. Which economic challenge is addressed by small, medium, and micro enterprises in the economy? Unemployment or employment, poverty or distribution of income, as well as the addressing of economic and social inequalities. In other words, we are saying as more and more small businesses are established in the economy, they can also help in job creation, alleviation of poverty, and also distribution of income, even to the poor, as they now get employed by the small businesses. Briefly describe the term employment. When people between 15 and 65 who are willing and able to work find jobs and in return receive a wage or a salary for the services provided. So question 4, how do small, medium, and micro enterprises benefit from the Small Business Support Program? So this is the financial incentive. The question is saying, how do these businesses benefit from this financial incentive from the government? So it is saying SMMEs receive a tax-free cash grant for investment in industries. New or expanding businesses will receive the grant for 3 years, after which the company is expected to be self-sustaining. So this grant can be given both to the new businesses as well as the small businesses that want to expand their operations. Number 3, provision. They also benefit from the provision of business advice and related services. Lastly, they access platforms which provide the business infrastructure support and a regulatory environment that enable entrepreneurs to thrive. Number 5, what are the challenges in implementing broad-based Black economic empowerment? So the question is focusing on the challenges in the implementation of the BBBEE. BBBEE faces the following challenges. 1, the majority of people do not have finances to buy shares to participate in the ownership or the shareholding of the companies. So lack of finance becomes a challenge when people would want to be part of the owners of companies. And number 2, rural and local communities do not all have access to economic opportunities. So lack of access to economic opportunities. Corruption is another challenge in the awarding of contracts, resulted in few people benefiting from BBBEE. Funding as well resulted in many people failing to benefit from the policy. And lastly, lack of skills and necessary knowledge led to many Black women and youth not being able to occupy top management strategic positions in companies. So those are some of the challenges that are faced when it comes to the implementation of the BBBEE in the country. We are going to take another short ad break, then we'll be back quickly. Welcome back. As we wrap up our topic on regional development, our practice of exam questions, we looked at the concepts related to regional development, South Africa's endeavors in relation to regional development, as well as the incentives to encourage industrial development. We also looked at the key concepts that we said you should familiarize yourself with and study them as you prepare for your exam for a better understanding of the topic on regional development. Very important, and some of them, we explained them as we were moving on with our lesson. A recap again of the common errors and misconceptions. Most candidates perform poorly in this topic as they confuse various strategies, endeavors to growth and development. Learners lack content knowledge on the various incentives used to encourage industrial development. The exam writing skills and competencies, we encourage you to have good reading skills, read the questions and understand the demands of the questions, active learning, critical thinking skills, as well as time management. Very crucial once again for you to be able to finish or accomplish the exam in time. For further practice, you can go through these past exam, NSC past exam question papers. They give you more practice on the questions based on regional development. This now takes us to the end of this lesson. Goodbye.